Next up, since the mid-'60s, the Metropolitan Council for Educational Opportunity, better known as METCO, has bused tens of thousands of students of color from Boston to affluent, predominantly white school districts around the state. The goal has always been, as METCO says on its website, to send the students to high-performing public schools in the suburbs to reduce racial isolation. But as a new documentary shows, the program has its downsides, too.
People have all these stereotypes about us, like when they'll start a beat, expect you to rap, but that just wasn't me.
When I'm out in Weston, I try to make sure that I speak as well as I can because I don't want to be that black.
There was a point where it was like having two Fatimas. Feel like a weird disconnect, like I don't fit in either spots.
Film is called Codeswitching, Race and Identity in the Suburban Schoolhouse. It's airing later tonight. I'm joined by its co-producer, Mike Mascoll, creative director and CEO of Lev Media Group, and the man whose voice you heard a moment ago, Richard Settles. They both participated in the METCO program at Lexington Public Schools, though at least a few years apart. Mike and Richard, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Mike, can I start with you for a second? The downside we'll talk about in a second. But the benefits, on balance, was METCO the right thing for you in retrospect?
Yeah, well, I'm still going through the METCO experience. So overall, yeah, it was the right experience for me. I can't speak for everyone else, but for myself, I got the most out of it, yes.
Why? How?
Well, I was exposed to, a different world, a world probably a little more complex than just the inner city that I grew up in. And, here I am as an adult, 55 years old. I'm able to navigate in space that a lot of folks aren't able to navigate, and that comes from, in a way, my educational roots kind of set the foundation.
Richard, was it the right choice for you in retrospect?
I believe so. My entire family had gone through the METCO program, and they had seen the benefits. Because of it, I was able to be exposed to a different group than I normally would have, and it helped me navigate more of the life as I progressed and got older.
Richard, your conversations with your uncle, who's also a METCO guy, were really just jumped off the screen. And one of the things, I don't think he said this to you in the film, but he said it to somebody else, which I found amazing. He talked about all the ways that it benefited him through life. And he said, just matter-of-factly, he said, even when I was incarcerated, it was easier for me because of my experience in METCO. Did that comment surprise you or not?
It didn't really surprise me. It's just at a young age, you're exposed to these different groups. Code switching really teaches you how to deal with different types of people. So it's a skill that if you're able to pick up on very early and use it to your benefit, it's something you use in everyday situations, and probably just getting around that situation helped. So it wasn't a surprise to me.
Mike, what is code switching for those who don't know?
Well, without getting into the technical terms, in this practical sense and how we use it in our world, it's just alternating your behavior, alternating your language and, cultural mores, as you move through different space. Survival.
Yeah. That, to me, was the most, what I took away most from the film was that all of you who, I don't know if I can say all of you, those in the film who experienced METCO essentially had their foot in both worlds and appeared to believe, Mike, that they were not fully accepted in either. Is that a typical, even back home, is that a typical experience, do you think, Mike?
Sure. I mean, the challenge that comes with that is you're not given enough ample time in either world to really, solidify relationships the way you'd like to. You're spending 12-hour days in one community. You're seeing your home friends on the weekend. There's just not enough time. So there is something to be said about that, yes.
And Richard, you were not the only person in the film who mentioned that a similar sort of thing. But what came clear is the one exception to being close to fully accepted in those suburban settings, predominantly white, is if you're a guy and you're a star athlete. You were one of those star athletes, and you decided, this was an incredible thing, you decided to give up basketball where you appeared to have great skills and probably would have gained even further acceptance for something that my older daughter loves too, manga and anime, which is Japanese animation, cartoons, but not kids' cartoons, very sophisticated stuff. Was that a hard decision for you, knowing that you might meet with less acceptance by embracing something that mattered more to you?
That was never really a concern. Yes, I was very adept to kind of changing my behaviors in different ways, but it was something that I'd been very involved in since I first went into the program. As far as stopping basketball, I just didn't have enough time for it, but the anime and the manga, that was a passion, but it wasn't very hard.
I want to play, Richard, a little something you said to your Uncle Ron in the film. Here it is.
I didn't understand why they made all these rules. My parents made it very clear there's probably no reason that I should be in Lexington unless I'm in school or I'm making up a test, meeting with a teacher, sports.
Just be careful where you are. Be careful what you do, because if something happens, they're coming to get you.
How hard was it to adhere to your father's suggestion, rule, whatever you want to call it?
For the most part, I think I did pretty good. That I occasionally stay out to hang out with some friends, of course, saying that I was just doing some homework. But I understand where he was coming from, his era that he grew in. He saw a lot. And he figured if I was ever in a situation, based off where I was, if something were to go wrong, eyes would immediately be on me. So he was just trying to keep me out of those types of situations.
You look a little different, Richard, in case you hadn't noticed from watching the film. I just want to make that clear. I hope you...
Hey,
Mike,
I got that haircut.
You look good. You look good in both settings, I should say. Mike, if someone said to you, where'd you spend your youth, would you answer Roxbury and Dorchester, or would you say Lexington? What would your answer be?
I'd say I spent it on a school bus. All right, because there was ample time.
Oh, man.
Ample time on that school bus, my man. That's where I spent it. Now, honestly, listen, I spent a great deal of time in Lexington because I was involved in sports and extracurricular activity, which kept me out there late at night. And if we had late games on a Friday night, I stayed through the weekend. So, yeah, I spent quite a bit of time out in Lexington.
But we should say in the film, it's quite clear, so virtually every kid who was a METCO kid talked about getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and getting out to the bus 5:30, 5:45. So, Mike, starting with you, I want to ask you both, if a friend with young kids came up to you and said, I'm thinking of urging my kid to be a METCO kid, what would your recommendation be?
First, I'd say it depends, right? And it depends on whether or not you understand what the long game is, They're going to be exposed. They're going to have some hardships along the way. But, if they have Teflon skin and they could, stick in for the long run, it's going to have a benefit. It's not for everyone, though. I will say that.
How about you, Richard? What would your advice be quickly if you can?
I would agree that it is a good opportunity, and I would urge towards it. But as long as they understand, both the child and the parent, that it is an opportunity and it's a privilege to do. And if they use it right, it can yield them very good results.
Richard and Mike, thank you for your time. The film is terrific. I urge everybody to watch it tonight, and it's good to meet you both. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh, thank you as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
The film, again, is Codeswitching, Race and Identity in the Suburban Schoolhouse. You can watch tonight at 9 right here on GBH2.